cases to serial killers, missing persons, and more.
100% he did this.
I'd go off into fantasy world.
How much more lucky can you get that you're not on death row?
You want to know what we know.
My name is Jay. This is Guilty of Crime.
Hello, everybody. So this is a pop-up today. I wasn't supposed to work, but this isn't work for me. It's a passion. So I woke up today and I woke up to probably 30 text messages, one of them being Sadie's mama. So I hope she's able to hop on this today. Sadie's mama, which her name is Tony, messaged me and she told me that not the verdict, but the sentencing was in for Chad Daybell. I've been watching this case and following the justice for JJ and Tylee and Tammy and all of those, Brandon Bordeaux, and the whole web of lies that's been the Doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell. I believe fire met gasoline with Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. And today we're going to watch the Doomsday prophet, we'll call him, be sentenced. And then we're going to go back and we're going to watch him we're going to watch the verdict. We're going to watch the sentencing. And then we're going to go back and do a recap, folks. So I'm going to say hello. Thank you, Bree, for being here on such short notice. I've been actually working since I woke up today. So, yeah, I have a lot in store. I'll tell you at the end. Hello, Justice Jane and Michelle Lalonde, whoever comes on here. Great. I see 25 people so far on this quick notice pop up. And what I'm going to do is we're going to start with the sentencing, okay? So we're going to start with the sentencing. This man deserves the death penalty, in my opinion, and that's what he's getting. We're going to watch this happen. I've got a cut for you from Channel 2 that does and says just that. So let's watch. I'm going to see if I can make myself a little smaller so you can see. There we go. I want you to see him and most of his face and his expressions as we watch. Hello, Wendy. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. I just missed a call from Trinity Perez's father, Jose Perez, folks. I also have Brianna Michelot, which likes to be called Bree Michelot, for the Corey Michelot case. Take a look at my list. We have an exclusive interview with Bree Michelot tomorrow at 1 p.m. my time. So much for having a day off. As you all roll in, come in, everybody come in, hit that like button so we can keep getting in the algorithm and getting these exclusive interviews. Tomorrow is going to be a blow up day. It's going to be a fire day. Bree is going to tell the full story of Corey Michelot and how it all happened. There's so much more that she wants you to know. All right, so I don't want people to miss this, but I'm going to have to hit the play button. Yes, thank you, Bree. We hit 11,000. Bree, not to be confused with Bree Michelot, who will be on tomorrow and giving us an exclusive interview. I have Jose Perez here leaving me a voicemail. That's Trinity's dad. Her funeral's tomorrow, by the way. I'm going to post it on my community page so you can see. If you're in the New Jersey area and it's an open funeral, please support the family. I've talked to Trinity's sister, I've talked to the dad, and I've got exclusive content for you. Thank you. Hello, chat. Happy Pride. Hello. Let's go. All right, let's watch this. Let's listen and watch this man's expressions as he gets sentenced to death. Just what he deserves. Now, Chad Daybell sentenced to death in the murders of Tammy Daybell, Tylee Ryan, and JJ Vallow. Let's go.
11623 State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. This is the special sentencing proceeding that has been conducted last couple of days. The jury's been deliberating. The court is advised that the jury has reached a verdict on the special sentencing proceeding and the special verdict form. I'll note the state's present with the 4 prosecutors who've tried the case, Mr. Pryor and his client, Mr. Daybell, present as well. I'll also note there's a courtroom conduct order in effect. I'd appreciate everyone complying with that, as you all have throughout this trial. I will note on the record, before we get to the verdict, that we did have a jury question yesterday that the court answered, and I've provided the question and copies of the answer to counsel. In addition, a second question came in today. I did go on the record with that question and answer with counsel and the defendant present, returned that response to the jurors. They've now reached a verdict in the case, so the court is going to have the jurors brought in and have the verdict delivered for reading.
Now, if you're lost in this case, don't worry. We're going to go back, everybody. We're watching him get sentenced to death, and then I'm going to show you the verdict, and then we're going to go back and show you the case. So don't worry if you don't know this. I'm going to tell it to you. Thank you all for being here. This is not paused. We're just waiting for them to talk. I have it turned up at full speed ahead, and I'm so happy that this man got the death penalty. It's what he deserved for the children, and you're going to see why. If you don't know, now you know, folks. Just like Biggie says, if you don't know, now you know. Let me see if I can, if there's any better way to, I don't want to make it smaller, so I'd rather make myself smaller so that you guys can see his reaction to death penalty, and death penalty. He's got so many of them. Hello. And yeah, I'm waiting as you wait. I can fast forward a little bit. I just don't want to miss anything. All right, everybody stood up so the court can rule. You see this awful chud, dumbbell is what I call him. He's a big...
Thank you. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court understands you've reached a verdict on the special verdict form. Is that correct? All right, Mr. Bailiff, if you would please return the special verdict form to the court, I'll review that. Ladies and gentlemen, the verdict form is somewhat long and complicated. The court is going to take a moment to review the form.
We want to watch it all, folks, so I'll talk as low as I can. I have it at full blast. This is the best one I could find. And I'm talking to you while we wait. Thank you, Diane Balboa, for becoming a member. We're just waiting for them to read the forms, and then the jury will come and read its verdict. And watch Chud Daybell as he sits there. He looks like a cutout of himself, is all I can say. So I made this full screen for you. I'm at the bottom left-hand corner, so you can see the people in the background on the left. You can see the judge, and you can see Chud Daybell at his finest moment. Hello, Sharon Belko. Hey there, beautiful. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, folks. And I'm not talking over them. Nobody's talking right now, so I'm just talking to my lovely crime crew. Yes, he does look like a jughead. I've always called him Chud, and his name is
Court's
Chud.
reviewed the special verdict form. I do find it's been properly filled out by the jury foreperson, as well as correctly signed and dated. At this time, I am going to request, Madam Clerk, Ms. Holstein, if you would please read the special verdict form. If you'd like to remain seated or standing, it's a long form and will take some time to read, but however it's most comfortable for you, Madam Clerk, you may go ahead and read the special verdict form into the record.
In the District Court of the 7th Judicial District of the State of Idaho, in and for the County of Fremont, State of Idaho plaintiff versus Chad Guy Daybell defendant. Case number CR 22211623, special verdict. Part 1. We, the jury, render the following verdict on the alleged statutory aggravating circumstances. 1. Has the jury unanimously found that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following aggravating circumstance? The murder of Tylee Ryan was committed for remuneration, or the defendant employed another to commit the murder for remuneration, or the promise of remuneration? Yes. 2. Has the jury unanimously found that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following aggravating circumstance? The murder of Joshua Jackson, hereinafter J.J. Ballo, was committed for remuneration, or the defendant employed another to commit the murder for remuneration, or the promise of remuneration? Yes. 3. Has the jury unanimously found that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following aggravating circumstance? The murder of Tamra, hereinafter Tammy, Daybell, was committed for remuneration, or the defendant employed another to commit the murder for remuneration, or the promise of remuneration? Yes. 4. Has the jury unanimously found that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following aggravating circumstance? The murder of Tylee Ryan was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity? Yes. 5. Has the jury unanimously found that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following aggravating circumstance? The murder of J.J. Ballo was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity? Yes. 6. Has the jury unanimously found that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following aggravating circumstance? The murder of Tammy Daybell was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity? Yes. 7. Has the jury unanimously found that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following aggravating circumstance? By the murders or circumstances surrounding their commission, the defendant exhibited utter disregard for human life? Yes. 8. Has the jury unanimously found that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following aggravating circumstance? The defendant, by his conduct, whether such conduct was before, during, or after the commission of the murders at hand, has exhibited a propensity to commit murder which will probably constitute a continuing threat to society? Yes. If you answered no to each of the above questions, you do not need to answer any other questions. Simply have the presiding juror sign this verdict form and notify the bailiff that you are done. If you answered yes to any of the above questions, then please answer the questions in part 2. Part 2. We, the jury, render the following verdict on the weighing of all mitigating circumstances against the statutory aggravating circumstances. You are to only answer the following questions for those statutory aggravating circumstances for which you answered yes in part 1. 1. With respect to the statutory aggravating circumstance that the murder of Tylee Ryan was committed for remuneration, or the defendant employed another to commit the murder for remuneration or the promise of remuneration, we unanimously find that when weighed against this aggravating circumstance, all mitigating circumstances are not sufficiently compelling to make imposition of the death penalty unjust. 2. With respect to the statutory aggravating circumstance that the murder of Joshua Jackson, hereinafter J.J. Ballo, was committed for remuneration, or the defendant employed another to commit the murder for remuneration or the promise of remuneration, we unanimously find that when weighed against this aggravating circumstance, all mitigating circumstances are not sufficiently compelling to make imposition of the death penalty unjust. 3. With respect to the statutory aggravating circumstance that the murder of Tamra, hereinafter Tammy Daybell, was committed for remuneration, or the defendant employed another to commit the murder for remuneration or the promise of remuneration, we unanimously find that when weighed against this aggravating circumstance, all mitigating circumstances are not sufficiently compelling to make imposition of the death penalty unjust. 4, with respect to the statutory aggravating circumstance that the murder of Tylee Ryan was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity, we unanimously find that when weighed against this aggravating circumstance, all mitigating circumstances are not sufficiently compelling to make imposition of the death penalty unjust. 5, with respect to
Come on, legal jargon. We're almost
5,
there.
with respect to the statutory aggravating circumstance that the murder of J.J. Vallow was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity, we unanimously find that when weighed against this aggravating circumstance, all mitigating circumstances.
Okay, we're going to get a separate mic. Thank you.
Always issues in the courtroom, but we're glad they streamed it, folks. Remember, they weren't able to stream the Lori Vallow.
Read 5 over.
Yes, start with 5 again. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
5. With respect to the statutory aggravating circumstance that the murder of J.J. Vallow was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity, we unanimously find that when weighed against this aggravating circumstance, all mitigating circumstances are not sufficiently compelling to make imposition of the death penalty unjust. 6, with respect to the statutory aggravating circumstance that the murder of Tammy Daybell was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity, we unanimously find that when weighed against this aggravating circumstance, all mitigating circumstances are not sufficiently compelling to make imposition of the death penalty unjust. 7, with respect to the statutory aggravating circumstance that by the murders or circumstances surrounding their commission, the defendant exhibited utter disregard for human life, we unanimously find that when weighed against this aggravating circumstance, all mitigating circumstances are not sufficiently compelling to make imposition of the death penalty unjust. 8, with respect to the statutory aggravating circumstance that the defendant, by his conduct, whether such conduct was before, during, or after the commission of the murders at hand, has exhibited a propensity to commit murder, which will probably constitute a continuing threat to society. We unanimously find that when weighed against this aggravating circumstance, all mitigating.
Now I'm playing this at regular speed because I want you to hear when they say death penalty, okay? So after that, I'm going to speed things up, but I want you to hear it.
Mitigating circumstances are not sufficiently compelling to make imposition of the death penalty unjust. Once you have completed part 2, please have the presiding juror sign this verdict form and notify the bail if you are done. Dated this first day of June 2024 and signed by the presiding juror.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, for reading through the verdict form. Ladies and gentlemen, the court will note that given the complexity of this special verdict form, just I think in fairness to all those in attendance, including in particular victims and the parties, the layman's explanation of this verdict is that the jury has made a finding that it would be appropriate to impose the death penalty as it relates to counts 1 through 6 in the amended indictment. And so pursuant to Idaho Code 192515, the court is directed that the defendant would be sentenced to death on those counts.
Yes, yes.
The court will take up a concluding sentencing proceeding. I also have additional counts of insurance fraud. I've discussed with counsel moving forward in a consolidated hearing. The court's proposing that we do that this morning, waiving the right to a pre-sentence investigation report under Criminal Rule 32A. Before I get there, just let me ask at this time of the jurors, is this your true and correct verdict that's been rendered in this case? Very well. Does the state
Yes.
wish to have the jury polled on the special verdict form?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Does the defense wish to have the jury polled on this special verdict form?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Very well. As
Nope.
I mentioned, then that's the result of the verdict form. The court would then proceed with additional sentencing on those two counts, as well as the counts 1 through 6 determined now by the jury. Mr. Pryor, is the defense willing to move forward with a consolidated hearing on those counts this morning without a pre-sentence investigation report?
As previously indicated, Judge, yes, we are.
Okay. Is the state going to be ready to proceed with a sentencing on those issues as well?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Counsel, I do want to take a brief recess just to briefly prepare for that, given the verdict, and I will come back on the bench. It really won't take long. I would suggest that a 30-minute recess will come back on the record. The court will conclude with that sentencing hearing. So if everybody could be back here by 10 after.
Yeah, we don't need to hear that. What we do need to hear, I'm going to lower this a little bit. What we needed to hear was that he was sentenced to death, folks. That's what we needed to hear. So let me pull this down and let me pull myself back up real quick. So I do want you to know that how they got there. Yeah, there's no waste in pulling the jury. Justice has been served. Somebody asked earlier if they, and I'm not done here. I want to show you the reaction from the family, Colby, and I want to show you Kay and Larry Woodcock. I want you to see what they have to say. This is absolute justice being served on a golden platter, folks. This is absolutely one of the best things I could have hoped for. I've been following this case since forever, and now we hear the victims react. Now, let me tell you something. John Pryor is no longer going to work for Chad Daybell, and it is just one of those things that you're always going to file for an appeal, especially when you have something like this that is the death penalty. So it doesn't matter, but John Pryor is no longer going to be involved. Chad Daybell ran out of money, and so it's whoever handles his appeal is going to be somebody that gets paid $45 an hour, I believe is what they said. Somebody they assigned to him, and I bet your bottom dollar that they are not going to approve his appeal. He's going to exhaust his appeals. He may never be put to death, folks, but he is on death row, and that's not a good place to be. It's sad. He looks like one of the letter people from way back, like a puppet. Now let's listen to Colby. Colby is the son of Lori Vallow, and he lost his sister and his brother, Tylee, Ryan, and JJ Vallow. All right, let's listen to him.
It's a weird feeling. You never wish harm on anybody, regardless of what they've done to you. But at the end of the day, it's good that he can't hurt anybody else, and that's what matters. So that's really my feelings on that. I can't say I was surprised. It felt like something that made sense, but I can't say that I feel good about it. But it does feel good to know that it feels like things are concluded, if that makes sense. It was hard.
Sorry, it's low.
I didn't expect to have the reaction I did. I tried to just read through it. But when you're there and you're sitting there and he's right there, it just brought everything out that I've been feeling. It was really hard to say what I needed to, but a part of me feels a lot more healed, and spending time with everybody here, it feels like a healing I couldn't have imagined, if that makes any sense. But yeah.
It does, Colby. We love you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the number one thing is focus on healing. I think this concludes this chapter of this part. We have to live with the fact that we're not going to have the people we love in our lives anymore. But I want to honor them by how I live. And at some point, I want to tell their stories and tell you guys who my family was. And honor them the best that I possibly can.
And you will.
I feel like through this whole process, it's hard because you're so up and down emotionally. I feel like I wanted to make them proud, and I feel like that I made them smile a couple of times. I would hope so. Thank
We
you.
love you, Colby.
It is good news. This is the best justice we can possibly get, and again, it doesn't change the outcome, but it is good news, and it brings
you.
closure for everybody that's been hurt. So that's the good news. Yeah, thank you guys.
I know it's a
Hello,
little low,
everybody.
folks.
Yeah, it's me. I'm Vicki. Thank you so much for all of your wonderful coverage.
Now, if you don't know who this is Tammy Daybell's sister, Vicky. Thank you, Bree, for the super sticker, $10. I appreciate you all. This helps greatly in my time of need. Right now, I don't normally ask, but I appreciate you. Now, let's listen to Vicky, Tammy's sister, who was gone way too soon by this monster, Chud Dumbbell, who's going to be put on death row for the rest of his natural life.
My fear in all of this, to begin with, was that Tammy would be a little bit forgotten because, as we all know, finding 2 children brutally murdered in somebody's yard that you'd know and love is devastating. But finding out that Tammy was a victim as well. And I just, with all due respect to the kids, I couldn't imagine her being a little bit lost in the mix. So it was important for me as her aunt to be here. Her mom passed last year, and those were the last years of her life, knowing that her daughter had been murdered. So today is a sweet justice for us.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Tammy Daybell's aunt. Excuse me. Her sisters look exactly like her, and they're younger. I'm sorry about that.
For myself and my immediate family, they're just, it's hard to express. I was just talking to Larry, and we were talking about there's a little bit of sadness in us now because we've built a family together here, supporting our families. We love each other like family. Our relationship will never end. But we got justice for our loved ones, and that was always what this was about, getting justice for them. This wasn't about us. It wasn't about anything other than getting justice for those that we love. And the prosecution, the detectives, I can't say enough about them. I feel like they got a gift from those detectives. They worked so hard. They didn't count their hours. They were incredibly important to the effort that went on here. And I think that they gave it up to capable hands who were able at the end to present it to the people of the jury and have it all make sense, because it was a crazy, convoluted case, and with a lot of just crazy religious creations and different things. But we're going to be forever grateful to these people. They're amazing. Even the people that came out to court every day and would stand at 6 o'clock in the morning to try and get in and support our families and just be here. We're thankful to them. We felt their prayers. All of you who have.
Yeah, I want you to know that all of the stuff that he made up was just made up. It was LDS. He took pieces of LDS and made himself a prophet, and that's not going to go far in prison. So he's actually lucky he's on death row, folks. And these family members are just, they've been here the whole time, and it's taken over 5 years. It's been since 2018, so 6 years or more for justice to be served. Lori's going back to court. She's in Arizona, and her trial's coming next. I believe it's in August.
Been here from the beginning and just praying for our families. We feel that. So thank you to everybody. Thank you for Judge Boyce. That guy is amazing. We need people like him on the Supreme Court. He is the most fair, judicious person I've ever seen in my life. And I actually like to watch court on TV. So there you go.
So do we.
But yeah, we just send our love. We're appreciative as a family. Thank you.
This case is crazy, Valerie.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jason William. I am Tammy Daybell's brother-in-law. Samantha is my wife. Samantha is Tammy's sister. And we just wanted to thank everybody that was involved in this. We want to thank the law enforcement that did an absolute phenomenal job with what they did. Want to thank the special prosecution teams, the people that we have met. The hardest part I think about all of this is our family has lost a brother. But in the process of it, we've almost gained an entire family, and that can't be replaced. We've gained Tylee, JJ's family. We just met a lot of wonderful people through this entire process. It's been.
If you guys don't know this case, I'm going to go back and do a recap of it. And this was the day before he actually got his verdict, which we know his verdict was guilty. And the jury was sequestered, folks. Sequestered means that they weren't able to go home. They were put up in a hotel. This verdict was just read today, this morning. So these people were pondering from the time the verdict was read until today. They weren't able to get home. They weren't able to see their families. And normally court does not happen on a Saturday except in special circumstances like this. I want to hear from the sister. I think he's speaking for her, but I wanted to hear from her, but I've heard from her quite a bit. So let's see what he has to say. I've heard her sister quite a bit, and I don't know why she didn't talk.
Everybody that was involved. First off, the prosecution team, who from the very beginning has just been incredible to work with and supporting our family. I also wanted to take time to say thank you to Judge Boyce for not just this trial, but for both trials, for everything that he did in his service. As a victim, we were given a chance to write our statements, and as we did so, we were limited by specific statutes, understandably so. But it makes it very difficult as a victim sometimes then for us to actually say the things that we wanted to say. I wanted to take a moment. There were some things that
we're going to play that after.
As I was going back and forth with a part of our team, our wonderful victim impact coordinator, Paula, she helped me refine the statement, but ultimately I had to take this out because of, obviously, like I was saying, the statutes, but I wanted to take a moment and read this. It was a statement that was directed directly to the jury itself.
Read it, sir.
To you,
Let's
the
go.
jury.
Hi, Teresa.
I wish I could easily say that everything I think or desire to say about Chad, or specifically the impact of his actions and to us impacted in the aftermath, was easy and clean. It's not. I'm not here to pontificate on who he was or may not be. I certainly have those opinions.
We all
and I'm entitled to them, but they have no bearing here in this setting with a decision that lays here before you. If I was still a man of God that I was even a few years ago, I'd easily know the words to offer you all in making what you feel is the appropriate decision. Instead, standing here, I'd say to all of you, may you find it in the universe, the earth.
Yeah, they put some different family members because there was many families affected by this all at the same time. They didn't, Chad is really dumber than we thought. Chud Dumbbell is dumber than we thought because he was a co-defendant with Lori Daybell. And if he would have stayed as a co-defendant with Lori, he wouldn't have got the death penalty. The only reason Lori was spared the death penalty, folks, is because they didn't get the paperwork in time. And she opted for a quick trial and it didn't happen in time. And she was acting all crazy, mental health. That was the only reason she didn't get the death penalty. And Chud Dumbbell wouldn't have got it had he not abandoned his wife. He killed all of these people, folks, buried 2 young kids in his backyard, killed his wife, and let his son find his mother with the 2 children in his backyard. And then he ditched on Lori Vallow. So karma is a bee, folks. And that's what happened. That's why she didn't get the death penalty, because she wanted a speedy trial and they couldn't make the speedy trial happen. I believe she's clinically insane. No excuses. She still thinks that there's a portal in her cell and she's going to walk out of prison through the walls one day. All right, let's finish this.
or whichever gods or goddesses you may offer prayers, meditations, or if you're agnostic or atheist, you find it in yourselves. To be true to yourselves and do what is right or just. I offer my sincere gratitude to you as a family member of a victim. Thank you for your time and your selfless sacrifice. I hope you all know how much it means to someone in our position. I always thought I understood and appreciated our legal system and the specific role the jury of our peers played until being put into this unique position. Truly, thank you. I hope that you all are able to get the necessary support and therapy that you may need to process what you've seen or heard. Living it for myself and for all of us who are victims, it has been burden enough. Please do not carry that burden for us on your heart. Thank you.
Poor guy, he wanted to cry. Okay, here we go. Here's the big deal. It's Larry and Kay. They've been there since day one. Remember the campaign, Where Are the Children? They started
Okay,
the
can
Where Are
everybody
the
hear?
Children. Yes.
We got terrible noise behind us.
Let's
Understand
listen.
turn the fountain off. Everybody has spoken so eloquently.
Can y'all hear him?
All right, speak up, folks. Let's go. We'll go a little faster after this. I'm sorry. It's just
As
emotional.
we were leaving the courthouse, the courtroom, Kay asked me. She said, "It's over." And I got sad. Justice has been carried out for everybody involved in this. What made me sad are all of y'all. You're our family. We have gone through a tragedy, from the judge who's had to endure this every day.
We
to our
love you,
friends
Larry.
in law enforcement. We're now brothers. I have so much respect for y'all. For this courthouse, we saw justice, equal, honest, and righteous. I look at the faces, and I'm going to tell y'all, I'm going to miss you. Not because I want to be in front of this camera. I did not choose this. It chose us. I'm going to miss y'all.
Sing it for us.
Lauren, Dr. John, how would we have made it without you?
Hidden gem, true crime, folks.
Clint, how they have carried us through this. They have been our eyes, our ears, and our hearts here. Rexburg is a beautiful town. Boise is a beautiful town. Idaho is a magnificent state. They don't deserve this blemish. Kay and I have often spoke. How would it have been different if we were in New York? If we were in California? How would it have been different? Every day, I want to get up. I want to be here for justice, but for y'all. Y'all have all given a lot. The media has been amazing, and I want to personally thank you. My wife, my beautiful wife, my rock. We thank you. I hate to say goodbye. I truly mean that. It's not goodbye. It's until we meet again. So, as I said a long time ago, turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Let's just call it a night.
Thank you, Larry. We love you.
Thank y'all.
I'm going to say a few things.
Go ahead. Now y'all will get a real speech. I didn't.
No, just this will be short and sweet, I promise. I want to thank everyone here, everybody that's watching, all the support, the emails, the texts, the messages, all these things we get, social media. Everybody's support is how we have gotten through this. And, we're not through yet. So we're very grateful for all of you. And we really wouldn't have made it through this without y'all. And I want to thank y'all. And there was one, I know what? I'll see y'all in Arizona.
Yes, we
That's
will.
what will be next.
One more
Y'all have a
trial. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have one more trial, folks. We have the trial that against her brother. Lori Vallow murdered her brother in cold blood, and they're going to hold her accountable for Charles Vallow. Okay, now for those of you that don't know this, please stay here. I really want you to watch this with me. I came on here at the last minute, but I did it because I want to bring attention to justice that's been served, and I want you to know this story. And the way I do, it's just a fraction of it, but please stay here and support the channel, like it, share this, subscribe, and know that we received justice today. Justice for JJ, Tylee, and Tammy Daybell, folks. That was the justice that we needed today, and it was absolutely the best thing that could happen today, except for I'm talking to Jose Perez, Trinity Perez's dad, and I want you to know, folks, I'm also talking to Brianna Michelow, and we're doing a 1 p.m. exclusive tomorrow. No one else wants to let her tell her story. They're only offering her 5 minutes of airtime to tell her story, and Brianna Michelow, Corey Michelow, and the treadmill murder case is coming to us exclusively, folks. Tomorrow, we're going to do an interview with her, and you're going to hear the whole story. Let's go.
Daybell, a grave digger and religious author, married Tammy Daybell in 1990. The couple had 5 children and were living in Rexburg, Idaho in 2018 when Chad went to a Doomsday Prepper conference in St. George, Utah to sell books and speak about his visions and beliefs. That's where he met Lori Vallow, and the Doomsday couple's affair began. Over the course of the next 2 years, chaos followed them. Lori's husband, Charles Vallow, was shot and killed by her brother, Alex. Chad's wife, Tammy, was found dead under suspicious circumstances. Then Lori's young children, Tylee and JJ, were reported missing, and a national search began. Lori's brother Alex was found dead on the toilet, and in the middle of all of it, Chad and Lori made their way to Hawaii for their wedding. And in June of 2020, the search for JJ and Tylee was over when their remains were discovered on the property of the former gravedigger, Chad Daybell. Lori Vallow Daybell has already been convicted for her role in the deaths of her children and Chad's wife, Tammy. Now that Chad's trial has come to an end and his fate is in the hands of the jury, will this so-called Doomsday prophet foresee what they will decide? Good evening and welcome to Closing Arguments. I'm Julia Janae, filling in tonight for Vinnie Politan, who's on assignment for his other show, Accomplice to Murder. Tonight, we are going to begin in Boise, Idaho, where we are in a verdict watch right now in the trial of the so-called Doomsday prophet Chad Daybell, 1 hour and 29 minutes.
All right, no more verdict watch, folks. Let's listen to this story. For those of you that don't know, it's not a story, it's real life. State delivers closing arguments. We can probably skip past most of this. I just want you to know the story and what the heck happened here. We already know that he got the death penalty, folks, but I want you to know here, he's going to talk a little bit about this. John Pryor's an absolute asshat, folks.
To set him up to have children buried in his backyard, and then eventually, it seems, maybe collect a life insurance policy from Chad Daybell as well. Why don't we go ahead and listen to some of John Pryor's closing?
The next victim. The next victim.
It didn't work, John.
Husband number 5. Number 5. Just get insurance. Don't worry about saying there's any kids or any beneficiaries or anything like that. Honey, just say it's me and you. And while all of this is going on, all of this is happening, Chad's really good friend, Alex Cox, really close friend, is Googling how to put a bullet through the windshield in the side of a black Dodge Dakota that Chad Daybell primarily drives. The target was not Tammy Daybell. It was not Tammy Daybell. You heard testimony about the insurance. The target was not Tammy Daybell.
And John Pryor also talked a lot about Alex Cox, pointing the finger at everyone else. We heard the names David Warwick, Melanie Gibb, pointing the finger at everyone else besides Chad Daybell. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Yeah, this is a huge deal, folks. This is a huge case, and many people lost their lives. They're talking about portals, evil spirits. It's just such a big case that you can't cover it that quickly. All right, we hear about grandfather speaking. I just want to hear the self-proclaimed prophet and his triple murder trial. TikTok start. No, we're going to get past that. All right, let's go from here. I want you to see a little bit more about the case, since if you don't know it, I want you to know that he was a grave digger and lots of other things.
Returned home from a Halloween party
and was never seen alive again.
Weeks later, her body was found near a cemetery.
The case then went cold for over...
Totally separate case. All right, here we go. Here it is.
Been told for years that Tammy would pass away at a young age. And I had no idea that Lori would even be a part of my life. I just knew that my life had 2 segments. And that I know Tammy's on a special mission and she's with my kids. She's visited them. There's so much, Melanie, that you just have to have faith. And this is not some sort of master plan. There's no way Lori and I could ever come up with this.
Chad Daybell, speaking there, he told quite a few people that he predicted that his wife of over 20 years, Tammy, would die young, long before she ultimately actually passed away. Now, a question the jurors may be asking themselves is, did Chad's alleged visions just happen to come true? Was he actually a prophet, or did he have a hand in Tammy's death? The state of Idaho says that Tammy Daybell was in excellent health. She was participating in 5K runs. She was clogging. She went to Zumba regularly. And they had person after person come on the stand to say that they were shocked when they learned that the 49-year-old died.
I was just shocked. I was stunned.
Why?
Well, I thought she must have been in a car accident or something had happened, because I don't know why she would pass away. So it was just really shocking.
I was stunned.
Why were you so stunned?
I had seen Tammy 2 weeks prior, and it didn't seem that somebody of her age, in her condition, should have passed.
I was super surprised that she had passed.
Why?
Because she was just so healthy just the day before, and I was just talking to her.
I received a phone call from Chad that morning.
What did he tell you?
He told me that she was really sick and had had a coughing fit and was in the bathroom throwing up around midnight, 1 o'clock. And then that morning, he woke up when she had fallen out of bed.
Were you surprised by this information?
Absolutely surprised.
Did it make any sense to you?
No, I had just seen her 2 weeks prior to that, and I had no idea that she was so sick that something like that would happen.
When you saw her 2 weeks earlier, how did she appear?
She looked perfectly healthy.
Now, those were all state witnesses, but the first witness for the defense was Chad and Tammy's daughter, Emma Murray. We just heard her voice when we saw that video of a dash cam where Chad is telling her everything's going to be on.
Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. Even if you don't know the case, you're still supporting the channel. As I'm doing this, I'm talking to Jose Perez, Trinity's dad, and so much more has come out about the case. He wants to be on here tonight at 8:45 p.m. So I'm going to do another show tonight at 8:45 p.m. with him before the funeral happens tomorrow. Check out my page. Jose Perez is going to be on the show tonight at 8:45 p.m. It's going to be late for you guys, but I hope you come on and show your love. I'll schedule that when I'm done here.
All right, and she's going to handle some of the affairs that are getting taken care of while he was being hauled off to jail. She told the jury as a defense witness that her mother's health was in a downward spiral in the weeks leading up to her death in her bed. Now, while the prosecution...
Her health started declining. I was really worried about it. She'd always been one to be able to meet the demands of daily life without being exhausted. And she started going to bed at before dinner some nights. It would be 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night.
So while the prosecution and the defense have different theories about what killed Tammy Daybell, they do agree that around 2 weeks after Tammy's death, Chad Daybell was off in Hawaii on a beach marrying Lori Vallow.
Now, I want you to know, folks, his children still support him to this day. Even though his son found the mom, he found Tammy Daybell passed away in the bed and Chad Daybell did it. They still support him. The statements were heartbreaking, but a lot of it helped the prosecution for the things they said. Chad's a big zero, absolutely. All right, we're going to get justice. We got justice today. We got the death penalty. Let's listen to this, and then I'm going to hop off, talk to Juan Perez, and I'm going to cover his case tonight. He's going to come on for an exclusive interview, and tomorrow I have an exclusive interview with Brianna Michelot, Corey Michelot's mother. This is the first interview after the verdict yesterday for guilty, and sentencing is August 2nd for Christopher Greger. This is a big deal, folks.
We have some really great guests that are weighing in on this day where we are in a verdict watch there in Boise, Idaho. But our guests are joining us now from San Antonio, Texas. We have Lori Vallow Daybell's cousin, also the author of the book, I Walked Through the Fire to Get Here, the podcast Midlife Revolution. Megan Connor is standing by. Also in St. George, Utah, Lori Vallow's uncle, co-host of the podcast, Tylee and JJ's Silver Linings, and co-author of the book, Lori's Lies and Family Ties, Rex Connor is standing by. And also in Los Angeles, the director of Sins of Our Mother, the Netflix documentary on Lori and Chad Daybell, Sky Borgman, is also with us. Thank you all for joining us on this evening where we are waiting to hear what the verdict will be, if this jury is going to reach a decision. And Megan, I just want to start with you on what your thoughts are now that we have reached the end of this now second trial in the saga of Lori Vallow Daybell, Chad Daybell. Any new thoughts today as we are waiting for the jury to come back?
Well, I'm grateful for all the new information that's come out during this trial.
I'm glad she fixed that. You guys can go watch Sins of the Mother on Netflix after this, and it will tell you the whole story of what happened in this case.
Answered a lot of questions, and I think, again, the prosecution has done an excellent job. And I realize John Pryor has a job to do. He's doing his best to poke holes in the prosecution and create that reasonable doubt. But hearing his closing argument today, honestly, I felt a little relieved because I don't think he really presented a compelling story.
Rex, what were your thoughts on that closing argument by the defense? I agree with Megan that I think the state did a very strong job. It sounded a lot like Lori Vallow Daybell's trial. John Pryor called Chad Daybell a victim in this case. What was your reaction to that part of the closing?
My reaction, and Megan's so well spoken, she said it well for me too, but my reaction to him personally is that I have very low expectations from him. He doesn't have much to work with. All of the evidence and the truth is against him. He's pulling out all the lawyer tricks he knows, so he's doing his job. And it's unfortunate that someone has to do that job, but he does it. And I'm with Megan on the fact that fortunately he didn't have much to work with.
This was a difficult case. It's going to be, if he's convicted, there's another phase to this case that he will then have to present in front of this.
And we already know this. Now, John Pryor was not death penalty certified, and he did this all by himself. Yes, it's a documentary. It's great. They sure did help anyone want to go to the... No, they didn't. And they got excommunicated from the LDS church. You cannot start your own religion and call yourself a prophet. I've seen a number of victims in cults. If you're in long enough or at a young enough age, people continue to have issues the rest of their lives, and they will. But most of them got wiped out, and they're not alive. The people that are alive are going to always live with this, folks.
Jury, but Sky, let me ask you, just based on the closing arguments today, what we learned, you know so much about this case, you studied the background of this case. Was there anything new that came out in the evidence in Chad Daybell's trial that surprised you?
I don't think there was anything that really surprised me. I mean, I think what was most interesting probably is that how the defense sort of handled things. I mean, it was really different than how they handled it in Lori's trial. I mean, they actually sort of came and presented witnesses, and there was a lot to sort of tell the prosecution or try to sway the jury into saying there is an alternative theory here. This is our alternative theory. And to just put that reasonable doubt into the jury's minds, I mean, like everybody says, they showed up, they did what they need to do. I personally don't think the jury's going to be deliberating all that long. They may not make a decision tonight, maybe tomorrow, but I think there wasn't that much new information. They've heard it before. They know what's going on, and I think they're going to make a decision pretty quickly.
Yeah, we're right at 2 hours with the jury deliberating, and Kelly said they can go as long as they want tonight. Megan, we were showing that video of Emma Murray, who testified on behalf of her father. I did find that interesting that during this trial, in comparison to Lori Vallow Daybell's trial, you didn't have defense witnesses, you didn't have her family, anyone from her family really supporting her in any way. Can you speak to just what perhaps Chad Daybell's kids must be going through, or what you think about their position of defending their father when their mother is, what the prosecution says, a victim in this case?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a lot of compassion for Chad's kids, actually, because I think they probably have fallen prey to a lot of his attempts to give his narrative of the story. And he is the patriarch, the father of the home, and his kids want to believe him. And so I think they're in a really tough position. But listening to Emma, to me, it really sounded like she had her...
For those of you that rolled in late, they are not debating his sentence. He has gotten the death penalty this morning on all counts. Death penalty, death penalty, death penalty, death penalty. And then he got 30 years for the fraud of the insurance policies and any of the money that he stole. And he has to pay things back, folks. So no debate. He got the death penalty. Absolute justice today.
Her narrative that she was going to present, and she sort of seemed like she was willfully ignorant of plain facts that are right in front of her.
Yeah, even going so far as to saying that she was the reason for some of the bad facts, to really swallow that for the defense, to give them the opportunity to say Chad didn't do these things. Rex, I want to ask you about something that I've heard you talk about before generally, that kind of went along with something that John Pryor said today, where he said that it's not just Charles Vallow that, well, he couldn't go that far in front of this jury, but we know that Lori is facing charges for Charles Vallow's death, but he's saying that she has a pattern, that there were other husbands that she eliminated in order to get money, and that Chad was next. What are your thoughts on this idea that Lori had a pattern and that it went further back than just Charles?
Well, first of all, Julia, since you said I'm kind of aligned with John Pryor, let me make it clear that's not intentional.
I didn't mean aligned. Didn't mean aligned.
I'm not convinced that Lori wasn't involved in the murder.
I want you to know this is Lori's brother, folks. Lori's family does not support her at all. Once they knew that the children were dead in Chad's backyard and buried, they abandoned her. They are not supporting Lori Daybell at all. But Chad Daybell's family supports him. And Jim Jones is right, folks. When you guys say Jim Jones, can I tell you a really quick story? You know that these cult members have to talk real slow and low. They can't have that passion that I do when I'm talking. Okay, I'm sorry. Lori's uncle. It's Lori's family, not her brother. The brothers do the podcast. Thank you, Patty. It's Lori's uncle, but none of the family supports her. And it's common in LDS or any of the churches for them to talk like this and say, hey, I want to. They can't have that passion and that. Otherwise, people don't follow them. So yes, Jim Jones and any other cult leader, especially like the LDS churches, but all the cult leaders have this really monotone. It's supposed to be a loving, caring voice that doesn't dominate like we do around here. So I just want you to know that none of Lori's family supports her. She had already killed. She's going to be on trial in Arizona for Charles Vallow, and we believe that she killed her first husband.
Murder of Joseph Ryan, her third husband. I don't have any facts on that. I wish the investigation was still open to see, but certainly that's a possibility. But as far as this particular case with Tammy, Tylee, JJ, Charles, they are co-conspirators. I'm personally convinced they are two people that got together, chose to do evil. They're just evil. And thankfully, they're evil idiots because they left quite a trail of evidence against themselves.
All of that evidence that the prosecution laid out for them. Sky, Rex, Megan are going to stick around. We have more ahead. What evidence connects Chad Daybell to the deaths of JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan? We'll take a closer look at that next.
This will give you a good sense.
Investigators have been outside all day long. Investigators from the Rexburg Police Department, the Fremont County Sheriff's Office.
All right, this is Chad Daybell's backyard where they found the children. And you know why they found the children there? Because he called it an animal graveyard. And they found his text messages where he said he had killed a big raccoon, and they could see the soft soil, and they found the bodies, and they kept seeing him look at that spot that they were looking for. And then he took off and they caught him. They pulled him over and arrested him. All right. A little bit of background. This is his backyard. I want you to know his children still live in this home, folks.
As well as the FBI evidence response team. Now, Rexburg police did say they're out here serving the search warrant in relation to the case of JJ and Tylee, the kids missing since September, and they confirm they have found human remains on this property.
Shortly after the remains were discovered, Chad Daybell was taken into custody and booked into the Fremont County Jail.
We noticed they were having a few bonfires that were kind of out of the ordinary. So they had a big bonfire last fall, and they had 2 or 3 big bonfires this spring.
When I returned to that area, they had already dug down and located what appeared to be a mass of burnt flesh and charred bone. The amount of duct tape that was covering the body.
Okay. Where was that duct tape located?
On the head, arms, and feet.
Welcome back to Closing Arguments. This is just into our newsroom. The jury that's been deliberating over the case that involves the death of Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow and Tammy Daybell, they have elected to go home for the night. So we paused our verdict watch clock at 2 hours and 4 minutes. They will return tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern to resume their deliberations. And while we focus on these cases that they're focused on in the deliberation room, these victims that they have to decide whether Chad Daybell had involvement in their deaths, the remains.
And we do know he got a guilty verdict, and now this morning he just got the death penalty, which is very just when you see those beautiful children there. And Tammy, so young, full of life, 5 children with this man. They were together for 30 years or something like that. I believe it was 30 years. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong.
Of Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow were discovered on Chad Daybell's property. And that happened on June 9th of 2020. It was about 6 months after he married their mother, Lori Vallow Daybell. They were found wrapped in duct tape and trash bags. That's JJ. And the remains of Tylee Ryan were found burned and charred and melted. They've been buried near the Daybell family's pet cemetery. And prosecutors say that Tylee was last seen alive on September 8th, 2019. And that there's 2 pieces of digital evidence that link Chad Daybell to that death, but not only the death, also the burial. And the first was a Google search from Chad's account on September 8th, 2019. Take a listen.
What did you find?
The user of Chad.Daybell looked up what the wind direction was going to be for the following day, which would have been the 9th.
And the second piece of digital evidence was a text message sent from Chad Daybell to his wife, Tammy, on September 9th. Here's what that text message said. He tells his wife, well, I've had an interesting morning. I felt I should burn all the limb debris by the fire pit before it got too soaked by the coming storms. While I did so, I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I hurried, I got my gun, and he was still walking along. I got close enough that one shot did the trick. Now he is buried in our pet cemetery. Fun times.
He was talking about the kids, folks. He was
All right,
talking
still with
about
us
the kids.
to discuss this case against Chad Daybell, Megan Connor, Rex Connor, and Sky Borgman. Sky, I want to start with you. The case against Chad Daybell in terms of the children. Tell me about if you think there's any challenges there for these jurors as they're looking through that, because as far as the amount of evidence they had that suggested that Tammy Daybell, her death was done at the hands of Chad Daybell, seemed to be more than they had connecting him to the kids' deaths. Your thoughts?
I think you're right. I think that there's no smoking gun, so to speak. They were buried in his backyard, which is very deliberate, and it seems to be connected to Chad. But I think that there is still a question of who actually murdered these 2 kids. Was it Alex Cox? Was it Chad? Was it Lori? And I think that that's going to be a big question that the jury deliberates, however long they end up deliberating.
Megan, there's something the prosecution kept saying, and it almost became a theme. She had several themes in her closing arguments, but she kept saying Alex believed Chad 100%, trying to connect those two. So if you believe that Alex Cox was the one who was killing all of the people involved in this tragedy, it's connecting the 2 of them. Just how close do you believe they got in terms of Alex believing everything that this so-called prophet was saying?
I think that was spot on. It seemed to be from the communications that we did see from Alex, and especially the blessing that Chad gave Alex, and then Alex's comments to Zulema prior to his death. If Zulema is to be believed, it seemed to me that Alex really did believe everything that Chad was saying. And I think that makes a lot of sense in his actions.
You know, Rex, when I'm thinking about belief and who believed what, it struck me that Lori constantly told Charles about Ned and about being dark and that he was a zombie. And we saw that. This jury didn't see that information, but it's something that she told him. We don't have any evidence that Chad ever told Tammy that she was dark, that she was a zombie, that she was a different person. Do you think that says anything about how truly held the beliefs were basically between Lori and Chad?
I think you're saying it very nicely and politely. The way I would say it is Lori and Chad made, what's a good word, but made stuff up in the situation for the situation. So none of it's, to me, none of it's meaningful in the content of what they said. It was all just stuff they were making up to get money, power, and sex.
Money, power, sex, that's the theme that we have heard now. This is the second trial. I want to play something that came out during the trial. It was about the weekend that JJ Vallow was last seen alive. And Lori's friend Melanie Gibb and David Warwick, they were in Rexburg. They were visiting, and according to their testimony during that visit, Chad and
I want you to know that Melanie Gibb should have been right along with them and been on trial. She knew all of this was going on, and then she turned state witness. She should have told, if she had told what was going on and there was dark spirits and people were going to be dead, she could have stopped all this. Listen up.
Lori talked about light and dark spirits, possessions, and zombies. Take a listen.
Who was it that would label someone dark or a zombie again? Chad. And even, and once someone was labeled a zombie or dark, what was going to happen to their body? As Chad and Lori thought it.
if they could cast the evil spirit out, the body would naturally die.
So if someone was dark or zombie, they were going to die.
Yes.
Did Lori talk to you about JJ while you were there?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She told me that the day before I arrived that he became dark.
So previously she told you Tylee was dark.
Correct. Yeah.
And now JJ was dark.
Correct.
Did you observe JJ that weekend?
Yes.
Did you observe any behaviors that caused you concern?
No.
And David Warwick told the jury that he had seen JJ the night before they left town. And when he woke up, to say goodbye, Lori told him that her brother Alex took JJ because he was having a demonic episode.
So I just went to say goodbye to Lori and JJ. And Lori was in the kitchen and she was a little dramatic. And
both David Warwick and Melanie Gibb could have stopped all of this, folks. Melanie told him that JJ was crawling up the cabinets like a demon and running on the ceiling, and they didn't think anything or call the cops. Instead, they recorded them and turned it over to the cops so they wouldn't be implicated. This could have all stopped right here. Listen up.
And I just said, well, we're leaving. I'd like to say goodbye to JJ. And she said, oh, he was out of control. And I had to have Alex come and get him. She just seemed really talking fast and nervous. Just kind of, after my minute dramatic, she explained that he climbed up on the cabinets in the fridge and got on top of the upper cabinets. And she had a picture of Christ on the upper cabinet. And he said that he went up there and pushed that down.
Sky, when we think about these kids, this is what had everyone thinking about this case. That's what got everyone talking about it. You're an award-winning cinematographer, director. You were drawn to the story in order to do this Netflix documentary. Your thoughts on the impact of just the kids and the part of the kids being part of this story that has the entire world really paying attention to this trial?
It's just so devastating, really, because these kids had their entire lives ahead of them. If it wasn't for Kay and Larry Woodcock sort of sounding the alarm that something was wrong, I don't know that we would have been on this track of figuring out exactly what happened to them. And I also think it's Lori Vallow and the fact that a mother could do something. For some reason, we're obsessed with mothers who are terrible to their children. And so Chad is kind of cast in her shadow in a horrible way. But I think these kids, you just look at their faces and there's just such incredible kids with their lives ahead of them. And it's devastating that they're not with us anymore.
It's truly devastating. Megan, is there anything that you want to say that you want people to be thinking about while they're waiting for a verdict, while they're watching this trial and just shaking?
That was the beautiful children, folks. Those children need to be remembered. And the whole campaign was, where are the children? Kay and Larry Woodcock started it all, folks. I can go on for hours. We're going to finish this. And then I'm going to call Jose. Actually, Brie Michelot. I need to call her. And then I'm going to call Mr. Jose Perez. So I got exclusive content coming for you tonight and then again tomorrow. Those are my days off, folks.
In their head at all the details, something that you want them to be thinking about while they wait.
Well, the thing I always try to talk about when speaking about the case is that it's possible for us to have healthier communications as families and in our relationships with everybody around us. And I hope that if there's anything that people take away from this case, it's that things can turn harmful and dark right in front of your face. And it's sometimes hard to see.
And it did.
And I think that if we are more...
All right, those are the three victims I wanted to highlight. That is JJ on the left, JJ Vallow. That is the beautiful Tylee Ryan and Tammy Daybell, Chud Dumbbell's wife. So take a moment of silence for the three victims in this case. There are many more victims. I will get into it later and do an episode if you want me to. If you go to my playlist under Colts, I have done other episodes on this. This is close to my heart.
Cognizant of toxic behaviors of manipulators, then it's easier for us to catch these things sooner. And I hope that people have more open conversations with their family members.
Absolutely. Rex, can you weigh in as well, especially from the perspective of being connected family-wise to this? How's your family doing during this? And what are they thinking during this verdict watch for Chad Daybell, knowing that Lori has another trial potentially in Arizona?
Well, frankly, we're a mess. Maybe I'm speaking more for myself than other family members by saying that, but what an ordeal to go through for us. But I have to add,
first they had to go through the Lori Daybell trial Oh, Lori, it was Lori Vallow Daybell. That was her 5th husband. And I don't think she was gonna to do anything to Chad Dumbbell. He had her under some weird spell, and then we brought fire and gasoline together, and there were more than 3 deaths, Holly. There were a lot more deaths. There was 4, but there was also more than that, because I believe Alex Cox was also one of the victims. I believe Lori's other husband was one of the victims, and there were many more on the dark list that were going to be next. Brandon Bordeaux almost got murdered. They just missed him by a little bit. Adam Cox, or not, is Adam, the brother. Yeah. I keep forgetting the names, but Lori's brother was a bad shot.
To it. This ordeal is worldwide. Anyone that's touched this case is traumatized by the children, as Sky said, by the children being treated like this. And I want to thank Sky for carrying the story. I always like to thank Court TV for carrying the story, and the army of media, because this is one story. It's carried around the world. We're all on the same side. We all want justice for the victims. To me, that's a silver lining of this story. That's such a horrific outcome, but this has united all of us. We're all
right, folks. After the children were buried in his backyard, he murdered Tammy. She murdered her husband. It's leaving my brain right now. These 2 murdered everybody, and then they went off to Kauai in Hawaii and got married. People were asking where the children were, and they served paperwork by poolside.
We're all interested in the outcome of this. We're all interested in the perpetrators, and I hope that the investigations are not over, that they will go on until as the indictment said, any co-conspirators, known or unknown, are brought to justice. And the media has had a big part of that. So thank you.
That is a great way to end it, that there are potentially more investigations and that they shouldn't stop. Absolutely. Anything that is connected to this should be looked into. I want to thank our guests so much for being on tonight. That's all we have time for. Megan Connor, Rex Connor, and Sky Borgman. You all have a good evening.
Yes, you all have a good evening, and you too as well. I have a big, I have a tall order on my plate for today. I was supposed to take the whole weekend off, and you can't stop justice when it's coming. So DZ, thank you, love your channel. I wish I could do more. That is enough for me. $10 super chat. I appreciate it so much. Right now, again, I was just laying down and I got all kinds of text messages, and yeah, people want to talk and they want to be heard. So go back and watch the Trinity Perez case. If you haven't, it's only about 40 minutes, but we have a lot more that just came out. Thank you, Lovable Denver, for subbing. At least justice to serve. Now, if you missed it, Chad Daybell, or Chud Dumbbell, got the death penalty on all charges except for the money charge, the fraud and stealing money from the life insurance, and that was 30 years to be served consecutively. So he's never getting out. And yeah, you're right, Red Wolf. I guess his loins aren't on fire anymore. I'm feeling a little bit better today. I just need more rest. I got a little bit of a stuffy nose and a little runny nose, but I'll do better. All right, y'all. I thank you so much for being here. This was a pop-up live. I really don't want to come back on later, but I need to do it. Melanie Gibbs was be next. Absolutely sure. I agree. I need to have justice for Trinity Perez, and we need to hear what Bree Michello has to say after all of this is over for the treadmill murder and little Corey. I know you've been following it. Yes, I'm going to stream later. Jose Perez, the father of Trinity, which I did yesterday, wants to talk. He needs to be heard. So that means I have to come back on. Today's the only day. The funeral's tomorrow. I post that on my page. So sometime today, I'll be back. Thank you so much for all the beautiful comments. Same sentence. Absolutely. Love to you. Love to all of you. Thank you for becoming a new member. You will not be disappointed. I guarantee you that. Yeah, I do need rest, but I still gotta keep going. All right, folks, I'm out of here. I love you all. Have a good night. I'll see you in a bit.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?